I haven't personally. Let me see. But I can tell you, I had a friend, anecdotally speaking, I had a friend that was paralyzed by that shot. I drive for Lyft, and this was a few years ago. I actually was driving a girl who was 19 years old to the doctor's appointment who had gotten cervical cancer, and she told me, she didn't even know my stance on vaccine. She told me she had 3 doses of the HPV vaccine and still got cancer. The research that has come out about it shows if you get pap smears and you can head it off early, then you have little to no risk of ever getting cervical cancer. Doesn't prevent cervical cancer.
I've never had cervical cancer.
But they're going to try and give it to boys too. HPV vaccine may cause chronic pain, fatigue, and nervous system damage. This is a really good book called Neil Miller's list of critical vaccine studies, 400 important scientific research papers summarized. So I haven't even actually read through this book. I don't know if you guys can see it. I have not seen leukemia. Oh, okay. Well, here's another thing though. Not with the HPV vaccine, but I did. There's a lady named Janie Roberts who is an investigative reporter. She was the same woman that broke like the blood diamonds case. She did I'm trying to wrap this up and make it fast. She did a report on a research lab, and they found that onca genes were developing in the vaccines. So when they do like viral vaccines, like viruses are really small, bacteria are really big. So when they make the viral vaccine, they can strain out the bacteria, but not the viruses. And they found like chicken leukemia in some of the vaccines because that strain that they were making was grown on like chicken eggs, like flu vaccines grown on certain eggs and stuff like that.
I got the transcripts of was co-chaired by a representative of the World Health Organization, and she reported to the meeting that chicken leukemia virus is in the measles vaccine and they haven't been able to remove it. It's in the measles vaccine all over the world, not just the United States. It's widely distributed in the vaccine. They've known about it for 10 years. They've never told the public. They talk about the dangers of avian flu virus. Well, chicken avian leukemia virus to me sounds much more dangerous. They inject it into our kids. So I went to see how long did they safety test the vaccine of for signs of cancer. I found out 48 hours. Now we all know cancers take years to develop. Why can't they test for longer than 48 hours? It's said because their cell cultures don't stay alive longer. So these cells that for the monkeys that have been poisoned, given cancer, die within 2 days. So they can't test to see what's happening to the chicken leukemia virus. I think this is enough evidence to have measles virus withdrawn now. I'm sorry. I've been horrified by what I found.
So there have been vaccines. I know that incident, she did find chicken leukemia. It wasn't the HPV vaccine though. I want to say it was a flu vaccine. So it's not just autism. And I know people wanted to talk about autism, and that's fine. But over a long period of time, unofficial studies have shown that people can get cancer. All these autoimmune diseases, it's been linked to Alzheimer's because of the accumulation of heavy metals in the brain. So it's not. It's more than just autism, and that's why I'm. And I know like these diseases, if you're properly nourished, measles, vitamin A, if I get it, I'm not going to die. All these deaths that you hear about people that, like I said, are in malnourished countries. So
vaccines are good in malnourished countries?
Well, I don't think it's outlandish necessarily to take the position that some vaccines aren't needed as much as other vaccines, and that a lot of it might be a money grab, I have no trouble whatever accepting that position, just on face value and what we know about government and what we know about big pharma and what we know about, how much treatments cost, especially in a capitalist society compared to a society with socialized medicine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And let me just ask. Somebody wanted to know, and this would probably fall into what we were talking about with Reagan. Dan Jocelyn, what if a company's irresponsible with a vaccine and poisons a bunch of people because they mishandled it? Can they be sued? Because if they can't, that's a problem. Does that relate back to the whole Reagan thing?
Yeah, they can't. You can't sue the pediatricians or anybody else. The nurse, the pediatrician, that's a pharmaceutical company. Now, there is a loophole that they found recently, and I don't know what that is. I have to look more into that, with the zoster vaccine, where there's a huge lawsuit going on because zoster vaccine causes shingles. Okay. It's causing shingles. So there's a huge class action lawsuit there. Oh, and I forgot to say, Japan actually withdrew on the HPV vaccine. Japan actually withdrew the HPV vaccine a few years ago due to side effects and adverse events, because a lot of girls were becoming paralyzed, were dying. So they don't have the same laws as far as the pharmaceutical companies in Japan like we do here. So you can sue the pharmaceutical company there. And there's a huge lawsuit going on against Merck, which is the company that owns the patent for the MMR vaccine. Okay. So MMR is measles, mumps, and rubella. Some countries give individual vaccines, or they make it optional. It's not mandatory. MMR is mandatory here. It's on the mandatory list. Japan also, it's not mandatory. I think they give the single vaccine, and it's not mandatory as well. It's by choice, because they were also having reactions to the MMR.
Responder 224 Paris, my last blood work. High mercury, lead, chromium-3, and arsenic. May have 5 to 7 years left. Responder, take my advice. Never go to the doctor, and you'll never know what's wrong with you. It's much happier that way.
Yeah. Anything else?
Let's see. Let me just see. DNA vaccines.
Did Verstein mention in her opening statement that vaccines were negatively affecting evolution, or am I misremembering?
Yeah, I said that just because if we're having all of these chronic autoimmune disorders, and there's also, like I said, Teresa Deischer, she did that study talking about how it's integrating the human fetal cell tissues are integrating into our DNA. That it's going to cause issues, not in a good way. It's not going to turn us into X-Men. Oh, and by the way, the vaccine inserts say that they don't test for carcinogenesis, the ability to cause cancer. They don't test for mutagenesis, and they don't test for the ability to impair fertility. So they can't really say that they're safe if they're not testing for these things. And then you look at other independent studies and outside of the pharmaceutical industries, and they're actually like that scientist Teresa Deischer, and she's saying that it does. So and also a lot of the CDC and the pharmaceutical industry actually funds a lot of the studies that promote the safety and efficacy of vaccines. Conflicts of interest there.
Are you against blood transfusions then?
No, I don't know if there are any complications with that. I haven't really looked into it. As far as I know, I'm not, just because I don't know.
So viruses, the small amount of viruses and vaccines can bond with human blood and DNA, but other human blood and DNA isn't going to bond with human blood and DNA. I mean,
don't you get a test? Don't they test your blood though before they transfuse it, right? Before you can implant your blood.
Well, yeah. You have the same the same blood type, but it's still from another person.
I know, but I think it's still tested before they accept it, right?
In California, didn't they make it legal to spread AIDS through blood transfusions?
Yeah, you can. You like if you get blood, they still like test your blood in the blood.
Well, the point I was making is that blood is one of the main places that you're going to find DNA, and if we're talking about stuff foreign stuff grafting onto DNA, wouldn't DNA merge in blood transfusions if that was at all true? If that's how DNA acted?
That's a really good question. I'm not sure. I haven't read that. I mean, blood.
I mean, I'm not trying to trap you, but it's a rhetorical question because that's not how the acid works.
But the thing is, they're DNA fragments and stuff, right? So it's bonded to the antigen that's made with the vaccine. In addition to that, like polysorbate 80 is what they use. They use it in chemotherapy treatments to make sure that if like for people in brain cancer, if they want the treatment to go to the brain, they put that in there to make sure it goes to the brain. So some vaccines use polysorbate 80 as an ingredient, and that's another thing that helps all of these, whatever it is, like the aluminum, the mercury, the fragments and stuff.
The woman about whom you were speaking that was talking about stuff bonding or grafting to the DNA, if that's how you put it. I'm not trying to
integrating
into the DNA,
causing mutagenesis.
Well, the DNA, as y'all probably know, but I'm not sure the audience watching knows, the DNA is just deoxynucleic, if I'm saying that right, an acid, and it's composed of two chains that comprise the double helix, and what this carries is the information that is passed on to form another organism. So if anything is integrating into the DNA, we should be seeing some very, very serious birth defects.
Oh, we are, like autism.
Autism.
Autism, that's what she said.
If autism is a serious birth defect, and then also something that can be caused instantly from the vaccine, it seems like just you're trying to say that everything's autism.
But no, this is after birth, not, and it depends on the vaccine. So it would be good, I guess, to talk about each vaccine individually, but some vaccines use animal cells, some use human cells, some use caterpillar eggs, some use dog kidneys, some use monkey kidneys, it depends on what. And then the detergents and the adjuvants and all the other ingredients that they use in the vaccine, it just depends on, like I said before, each manufacturer has their own type of like recipe, so to speak. So it just depends like what they use and if the person was vaccinated with a bunch of vaccines at the same time, if they have an MTHR gene mutation, right? But as far as are
you saying they'd be born with autism and the vaccine would trigger it? Is that what you were saying?
You can, so they don't really take into account too that, pregnant moms get vaccines, You'd have to, if a person is born with autism and they get vaccines, they would probably complicate it and make them more sick. But.
So let me just say this, the chat noticed that about whatever it was 20 minutes ago, Halsey took off his glasses. He zoned out. He's apparently researching something over there.
He's going to hit us with the big closing statement.
Is there anything that you wanted to bring up there, Professor?
No. I'm just listening. I'm listening, and I'm just I don't want to like bring it back up. I'm listening to what she's saying, and I'm going to post her links in the description.
No, you're not.
And I'm going to post my own links in the description.
Oh, you were putting all that together.
Yeah, I can do that. I can actually post a lot of my links when we're done too.
A lot of people thought, Halsey, you were connecting via an Apple app and bombing terrorists in Palestine.
See?
That's what they were thinking you were doing over there.
Apple app.
They said, what happened to Halsey? When he takes off the glasses, it means he's getting serious.
That or maybe I'm ordering crystal meth online.
The whole world needs Groiper avatars, and nobody wants to see people chewing apples on live streams. Get yourself a Groiper like my Tucky Allen Co. with a cowboy hat, and you'll be good.
I know. You eating apples on the stream is like back when Mike Cernovich would be carrying around his baby in his house while it was nursing off his breast. And I'm like, why is this guy streaming while he's doing that with his child?
Anyway, I found one. There's evidence that measles vaccine recipients can shed measles vaccine. Analysis of urine specimens. So they found it in their people's urine and stools.
So
I mean, I have so much stuff. I have so much
here
stuff.
we go. Here, Verstine, somebody, Cosette Darner wanted to know, if you're against vaccines, are you also against pills? I've heard some say they are against all medicine and some say they are against some. Where is she on the spectrum?
It just depends on the pill. I wouldn't take antidepressants or SSRI drugs. They're terrible. I wouldn't do statins. I actually have to use an inhaler every once in a while because I have asthma. And I'm really I'm working my way to get off of that because that's not good in the long term either. Look, this is my deal. I think that I'm not against medicine or science. I think Western medicine is great when it comes to like accidents. I think they're good for trauma. As far as disease and sickness, I don't go to doctors anymore like that. I don't go to allopathic practitioners. I think that we have been trained to look to a vaccine and a pill to solve a health problems that are more holistic. And, you know, Western medicine treats people by masking the symptoms on the problem and not really getting to the cause.
So back to what you were talking about at the very beginning of the stream. Since